From the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville, I'm talking with the Director of Community Service as well as Social Service, who happens to be Alison Tutak. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Doreen.
So we're going to be talking about homeless today. And Leeds and Grenville is no different from any other community that has homeless, right? It's a fact.
Unfortunately, yes.
It's out there. And we have to address it.
Yes.
It's not something we can scoot under the rug and say, doesn't exist, because it does exist. So how many people in Leeds and Grenville would be considered homeless? Now, I'm not talking about people that are couch surfing. I'm not talking about people that are being housed or have the availability of some of the resources that are out there. Right. How many people are homeless?
Right. So what I'll probably do is give you just a couple of numbers, if
Please.
that's okay. So we measure homelessness through the by name list. And a by name list is someone who's been homeless for more than 2 weeks. Various agencies in the community, we keep a list of those folks so that we're fully aware of how many people in our community may be affected by homelessness. That number right now is sitting at 120.
Okay.
So we have 120 people who have been without a permanent home for more than a 2-week period living in our community. However, of that number, 120, we do have a number of people who may be couch surfing. So they're still homeless, but thankfully they have some resources and connections to people that they're able to have a place to stay at night.
Yes.
And then we also have some other folks that may be accessing, for example, the Cooperative Care Center or one of the temporary shelters that we have. So once again, they may have some temporary solutions to assist them. Those that may not be accessing those temporary solutions, couch surfing or shelters, we estimate of that 120 that we probably have approximately 50 people that are per se street homeless, in which they do not have a place that they're able to sleep at night.
And that number changes, it fluctuates, does it not?
It absolutely fluctuates. And even our Cooperative Care Center, which is our local shelter right now, depending upon the night, they quite often will be turning away people who they just do not have enough space.
Right.
So it really does. It changes every day.
Okay. So it's complicated because this has been homelessness has been talked about for years and years. When I was growing up, I can remember they were jumping on trains, going from city to city to get a job, to work, whatever. And we had, and they used to call him Dave. I think his name was Dave, and everybody knew him. They would give him things, he was harmless. He was harmless, but he was homeless.
Yes.
And I think it's been around from day one, I feel. So I think it's very hard for any organization or municipality or community to address it because there's so many layers to it. Is there not?
Yes, the issue of homelessness is very complex, and some of the factors that we are learning, because it's still a relatively the enormity of the issue. I think in Canada and Ontario and here in Leeds and Grenville, this is relatively new for us in the last 25 years, and so even adjusting in our understanding of it and what contributes to it. I mean, certainly, I think we're also in a bit of a health crisis, and I think understanding the health crisis is important to understanding homelessness. Right. What we are seeing and what our data tells us about the people who are homeless in Leeds and Grenville is that through self-identification, they are indicating that 54% of the people that we currently have on our by name list indicate mental health challenges. 40% indicate challenges with substance abuse. And further to that, we also undertake what we call a vulnerability index questionnaire with folks that are homeless. And we know that 74% of all people that are homeless right now require high intensity supports. to be able to live. And so unfortunately, those supports aren't available. We also have a number of people who self-identify as having past trauma that's unresolved. And so, you couple many of those challenges. This just adds a complexity, and every individual is different in terms of what has contributed to their homelessness, and also what is the path out of homelessness is unique for every individual as well.
I would think so, because it's so, as you say, everyone is unique.
Yes.
It's not a Band-Aid to fix everything.
No, it's not a one, a certain thing that we can do and it will all be solved tomorrow. It's going to take, I think, lots of agencies, lots of ministries, and lots of resources to just understand that complexity and be able to, kind of meet individuals where they're at and be able to figure out how do we help each person in a unique way.
And it's going to take time.
Absolutely.
Lots of time. Who is Flourish?
So Flourish is the development arm of an organization known as Indwell.
Okay.
So Indwell is a well-known, in Western Ontario, is a well-known supportive housing provider.
Okay.
So they develop supportive housing. They directly operate supportive housing in a number of communities. They have more than, I think, approximately 800 units that they administer across various communities in Western Ontario.
Yes.
They have shown amazing success in running supportive housing in Western Ontario. It's not just one type of supportive housing. They believe in a 3-tiered model in which you have somewhat light supports, medium supports, and high supports.
Okay.
So, because not everyone needs the same level of support to be able to live independently and to be able to function. So, they really believe that through supportive housing, we can end homelessness. And they have had significant success. A similar community, similar in size to ourselves, is St. Thomas, Ontario.
Yes.
And they've been working with Indwell for a number of years now, and they have reduced their police calls in their downtown core by 90%.
90%.
They have reduced their by name list already by 50%.
Oh my heavens.
And they're just starting to get started. So we see the potential for that same type of model to come here to Leeds and Grenville. We're a similar sized community, and we believe that if we do the right things to create supportive housing in our community, that we also have that potential to end homelessness.
Isn't that amazing?
It's exciting.
Well, yes, that too, but amazing in itself. So what are they proposing for our area? What can we do?
So Flourish undertook a study, and their proposal is that we need to create 150 supportive housing units in Leeds and Grenville.
Different levels?
Different levels, three tiered levels.
Yes.
They're suggesting approximately, 15, units at that very high intensity level, and then the balance split between a medium acuity and a high acuity, low, medium and low acuity. So 150 units, they believe will meet what they see as probably the need in our community for the people that are currently experiencing homelessness, while also building in a little bit of a buffer for possibly increasing levels of homelessness that we'll see in the next couple of years.
Yeah, because it's going to, the fluctuation of it.
So they suggest that if we take this path, that this could make a significant difference in our community.
Amazing.
Yes.
Amazing. What is the housing continuum?
The housing continuum is really understanding, that there's a range of housing that's available in our community. And so people that are homeless are down here without a home. Right. And that quite often, if you follow the continuum, you may have transitional housing, after homelessness. And then maybe you have supportive housing, and then maybe subsidized housing. And then depending upon your income levels, maybe eventually you get to be in the private market and rent a place. Maybe eventually you get to own a home. So there's this entire continuum. Now, it's not that necessarily everyone moves from homelessness and moves into each stage.
No.
Ideally, what we'd like to see here in Leeds and Grenville is instead of putting a lot of resources into, transitional housing and shelter housing, that we really focus our resources into the supportive housing. Because we know that if we put them directly into supportive housing, we've skipped a couple of stages in that continuum, which helps them towards their independence much more quickly.
Quicker. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. So what stage are we at right now? Have there been steps that have already happened that we're not aware of?
Yes.
Or, okay. All right. Please tell us.
Yeah, we introduced Flourish presented their study to our Joint Services Committee in March of this year. And so since that time, we have formally started to ask the respective ministries for assistance in creating what we believe is going to be our 150 supportive housing units. The most important step is that Joint Services took a very bold step in saying we endorse the recommendations of the Flourish study, and we're committed. And assuming that other levels of government come to the table to help us do this, we're committing $6.8 million of municipal funding towards this initiative over the next few years. So that was a very important step.
Yes.
So since that time, we were very fortunate to join our MPP, Steve Clark, for a meeting with the Premier in May at Queen's Park and advocate for our goal of creating 150 supportive housing units. We felt as though our presentation was very well received. In addition, we've made contact with the Ministries of Municipal Affairs and Housing and the Ministry of Health, as well as the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, federal. And we have said to everyone, this is our plan. We've adopted the Flourish's recommendation based on their past experience, and we're ready and we're set. The other thing that we are doing as well is we are also we're looking for those opportunities in our communities for the possible either lease or acquisition or identifying properties that may be suitable for the creation of these supportive housing units. So we're also actively scouting a little bit in terms of where those might be in our community.
Wow.
Yeah. So here we are, and we're on the path forward. And I think, Graham Cubitt from Flourish, who helped to complete the study, he sent a very important message last night when he presented at City of Brockville Council and saying, we just need to keep advocating.
Yes.
We know what the answer is, and we don't let it die. We don't let, this go by the wayside. We just actively keep moving ahead, and we keep our voices loud because we know what we need to do.
The Premier, was there any feedback from the Premier when this was all presented to them up in Queen's Park?
We felt it was very well received. We felt it was very well received, and I think certainly we had the Associate Ministers, Minister Tobolo, also present, as well as Rob Flack at the time.
Yes.
And Rob Flack is actually from the area of St. Thomas. So, St. Thomas, who has demonstrated that this is the path to take. So we really felt as though it was well received. And, our sense is that the importance of supportive housing is known by the province to be a very critical element in the path to end homelessness. So we felt it was very well received, and we're very hopeful. So
this is all provincial?
Provincial, with the exception of the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, because we would be seeking some grants as well as loan funds from CMHC in order to fully execute this project.
Right.
The project's estimated to build 150 supportive housing units over the next few years. It would require roughly about $55 million in addition to annual operating funds from the Ministry of Health of approximately $5.3 million.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not a drop in the bucket. It's a lot. It's a significant investment. But I think if we also look, we know we need to make significant investments, because right now our numbers of homelessness are growing. And, what do? We're already investing a significant amount of money and resources that don't actually help people out of homelessness.
No.
And so we need to really invest those resources in a way that actually helps people move on and helps them to become housed, to become participating members of our community.
Society, I agree, because all we're doing is spending money, and it can end up costing a lot more than what this proposal is.
Yeah,
it can.
There's so many agencies right now that are involved in our community in terms of addressing homelessness. You know, many agencies, some which we directly fund and some we don't. You know, you take a look at the police and our John Howard Society, Addictions and Mental Health, the Cooperative Care Center. You take a look at all of these folks, including our health system, our hospitals. There's a lot of resources and time spent right now in trying to help people that are afflicted by homelessness. And it's just, I think there's probably a better way to do it. And if we pool resources in a different way, we might have better outcomes.
Agreed. Thank you for sitting down with me.
Thank you.